Well, we now commence with the webinar. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our next HRAI session, Future of Work, Why, What and How. I would take few minutes, ladies and gentlemen, to run through some of the protocol while on Zoom, though many of you would be familiar with. 3 rules that I would like to take you through. First one, kindly do not record this meeting as this would be available on a social media webpage later to be viewed. Request all of you to please keep your Zoom audio on mute. Please use your full name as your screen name and not your device name, as it doesn't allow us to identify who you are. As your video is off and name is also not mentioned, we will have to move those participants to the waiting room for security reasons. So please cooperate. It would be great to have all the participants' feedback. We will be running a poll before the Q&A session. Request all participants to kindly give your feedback on the session. It will flash on your screens. HRAI is a non-profit organization and a body established to enable community members to explore, discuss, and understand the certain scenarios. This team works primarily on getting subject matter experts together to share their knowledge and provide real-time strategic solutions covering all aspects of HR and other business enabling services. Without taking much time, I will start with a quick round of introduction of our esteemed panel members. To begin with, our first panel member, Mr. Vijay Rane, VP eInfochips and Arrow Company. He has excelled as a HR practitioner with over 20 years experience in industries spanning various sectors, IT, manufacturing, energy, and KPO. He has been instrumental in designing global process and aligning HR programs with business strategies to drive business results. Thank you, sir, for accepting our request and being part of this session. Our next panel member, Mr. Rohan Lele, Head HR and Business Strategy, Zydex Industries. He is a passionate and prudent HR professional with 14 years of experience across the manufacturing sector, having worked for companies in petrochemicals, power transmissions, automobiles, and specialty chemicals. He has designed and delivered unique HR OD interventions for teams in R&D, manufacturing, and sales and marketing. Thank you, sir, for accepting our request and being part of this session. Our next panel member, Mr. Tejender Oberoi, Executive Director, Signet Infotech, and Vice Chairman and Director, Geisha. He was the key member of conceptualizing and organizing committee of Vibrant Startups and Technology Summit, the flagship IT event of Gujarat. He oversees the horizontal and vertical business development, overall business strategy, and infrastructure initiatives, and is determined to make his company a global icon of technological excellence. Thank you, sir, for accepting our request and being part of this session. Now I'll introduce our panelist and moderator for today's event, Mr. Sanchayan Paul, co-founder, Karyamitra. He comes with an experience of 21 years plus in HR and management consulting. He is a co-founder of a workforce solution and job tech platform to enable enterprise to intelligently skill, assess, and hire their frontline field and factory workforce. They need to grow their business. Prior to starting up, he worked for Vodafone, where his last role was of National Head of Total Rewards, Recognition, Design, and Effectiveness. Thank you for joining. Without taking much time, I would now request Mr. Sanchayan Paul to take over the session. Over to you, Mr. Sanchayan.
Thank you, Peter, and a very warm welcome to all the participants, especially to Tejender, Vijay, and to Rohan. We have a very seasoned and senior panel today to handle this very exciting topic of the future of work. These are the days of WhatsApp. And to start on a lighter note, you would have seen that WhatsApp saying, so who accelerated the digitization in your company? Was it your CTO or was it COVID? So that's a very interesting WhatsApp circulating. And it's not just about digitization and technology. It's about various things which have suddenly got accelerated due to COVID. We will expand the topic and the discussions beyond COVID today. This future of work was anyway on our way. It's just now coming faster towards us. We'll try and cover different topics. We'll try and see how consumer behaviors are changing, how's technology changing, and how's all those impacting business. And we have a business leader in Tejinder today to talk to us about that. And when businesses are changing, ways of working are changing, employee habits, employees' way of working are changing, and that has huge implications for HR. And I would presume a large number of people today listening in are HR folks. So there's very interesting implications for HR across rewards, performance management, engagement, health and well-being. It's a vast subject, and all of us together, the four of us together, will try to see if we can do justice in the 1 hour that we have. So thank you once again, HRAI, for inviting us and choosing such an exciting topic. I would begin with seeking views and inputs from our esteemed panelists now. First, I'll reach out to Tejinder. And Tejinder, if you could give a opening note, especially from a context of what are the insights coming in from Signet, which is your company. You also head a big, large association in Gujarat. So if you could tell us how is the business responding? What do you foresee are the upcoming changes from a larger business context?
Thank you, Sanjay, and thank you HRAI for inviting me for this summit. I'll give you a little brief on Signet and then on Gesia. At Signet Infotech, we are about 1,000+ people, and work from home was never new, but the scale at which we had to implement work from home during COVID times was something which was actually enterprising. We had to do it at about a 2 to 3 day notice. Like we did not even have enough laptops. We moved desktops to people's homes. We move vehicles across day and night to make sure that machines reach where they're supposed to. Connectivity is provided, accesses and controls are given, customer permissions are taken, and it was an interesting exercise which no CTO was daring to do, but the COVID made us do. I think we've been wanting to adopt this practice for a very, very long time, but there were always hesitations, apprehensions, customer approval, security reasons, and none of us had the risk appetite to do it. I think COVID made it so successful that we recently ran a survey across our organization, and we realized that more than 50% are happy the way they are working at home and may not even want to actually physically return to office. So, which is good news also. So, work business on the business side, business had its own strengths. While we have some operations in domestic wherein we do work as a GST Suvidha provider, wherein we do enterprise automation for GST return filing. And we also have a lot of services business abroad, and we have some products. So each of these businesses had a different kind of an impact. So services businesses which were working with clients like startups or small units definitely had a shrinkage, but businesses wherein we were key service enterprise service providers servicing large systems, the dependence level was very high, and there was virtually, yes, there have been delays in payments and other things, but customers have adopted it, and customers are thankful today. And as IT as a business has actually come up and given support to run their businesses. Businesses which were associated with travel, tourism have taken the largest hit, and I do not see how soon they will be. Like, I wish they revive soon, but it looks like a long race in their case. Domestic business tax return filing is a challenging area. We were able to complete assignments with many customers which were long due because they had time now to attend to these, and we could streamline a lot of things. And we are looking at we have been able to do well in establishing a good base for the growth. On the product side, we had one product called Signature, which was focused more on it was a blockchain-based product for contract signing. And we have started seeing a lot of traction on that product, which we were struggling to get before this event, because we see that more and more digital signing has to happen from a distance. So it's a mixed kind of a view. In terms of business, we are trying to be more aggressive with sales. We're trying to pick up whatever is coming our way so that the rotation in business keeps going. On the Gesia front, we took a lot of initiatives in trying to keep companies posted on what is the government lines and policies on how you should behave during times of COVID. Especially, we would bring up some guidelines. We would share these guidelines that were published by NASSCOM, state government, central government, with all our members well in time so that they can take their decisions. Then we have been running a strong campaign in which we asked most of our members to participate of working from home and staying safe. So we've been advocating very strongly to all members to keep working from home for as long as possible. And I think as an industry, everybody has adopted that. And today we're not seeing, while all other industries are trying to rush back to work, which I can understand because they have had a standstill in their operations. IT industry per se has not been impacted to that extent that its operations also were working, and people do not even have a rush to go back to work from the office space. So it allows us to not become one of those promoters of COVID-19 or Corona. We're not becoming Corona carriers, we're becoming Corona warriors, which is a good thing, which is happening on the IT industry side. Like each one of us that we have spoken to industry stalwarts, and we have had meetings across. And we're realizing that, yes, there are cash flow pressures, payment cycles have gone bad, but businesses are not at risk. Businesses are moving on. There is some kind of, in such uncertainties, you don't expect everything to be normal, but we haven't really seen any major uncertainty or major fallout happening because of Corona in the IT industry per se. There are challenges. Yes, people are making sure that their benches are more performing. Some people who are getting severely affected, and they're even going for letting people go. But in general, IT industry has still been being paid their salaries. IT industry is still working from home, and IT industry is still making sure that it remains the backbone of all the industries.
Right. On that note, Tejinder, I'll move on to Vijay for his opening notes. Tejinder spoke about mixed signals, some very, very positive areas like blockchain, and blockchain is going to be interesting. He spoke about contracts, because that's a very interesting area, because you will see more and more litigation, more and more anxiety and lack of trust. And how can blockchain build an element of trust between two parties? Reaching out to Vijay. Vijay, your opening note, what you see are the HR insights from InfoChips. How is your company coping with? What are your priorities for the next 12 to 18 months? Vijay.
So, how are you? Oh, obviously, 2 months back, our very obvious answer would have been, oh, I'm good, or okay, or people would have said, okay, I'm doing well. Now the things are different. When somebody asks me, how are you, the first reaction is very different. It can be, oh, I'm bored, or oh, I want to go out, or I want to really go to the office. So things have become suddenly very different, and a lot of perceptions have changed drastically. What we've seen is so things like work from home used to be for a lot of people a cool thing to do. Oh, that's what I want to do. I want to work from home. For a lot of people, it was a dream, saying, okay, someday I'll work from home continuously. Of course, it's nothing new to the chipmates or to the IT industry, but it still was a dream for a lot of people. For some, it was a privilege, saying, okay, I would really want to be the one to work from home. And for some, especially the managers, it was a challenge. How do we really monitor, control, and have the outputs done for our customers the normal way? But suddenly everything has changed. I think people have got adjusted to. We were lucky to have preempted some of the things, and we made sure that almost all of our people either have a laptop or a desktop at their house, and everybody started working. So there've been obviously a lot of mixed emotions. Initial phases, it was difficult for people to work from home because they were used to being from an office kind of an environment. A lot of employees, so we have various people working on various technologies. A lot of them work on advanced devices. So there's some employees who've been used to working on high-tech, high-end devices. Now suddenly those devices were not available for people. So it was a little difficult for them to adjust initially, but then over a period of time, people have really adjusted. Yes, there's still those emotions there. Some of the people want to continue to work from home. Some of them now are saying, enough of all this. When can I start coming back to office? So we allowed a fraction of people to go to the office because they were really stuck, and they wanted to really use the devices. The customers also wanted few things to be done from office. So we allowed a bunch of people, and we suddenly found that we said yes to few people, and almost double the number of the people turned up to the office, even without we really saying that they should. So it's a very mixed reaction, mixed feeling.
Let's move on to our HR panelist in Vijay, and I'll reach out to him. He also spoke about empowerment. So I'll try to reach out to him and ask him how is he doing this entire thing when his people are working from home? How is he looking at supervision? How is he looking at performance management? How is he looking at skilling them? HR is far away now from the employees. How can they be close to them, as Tejinder says?
So I think one of the paradigm shift which HR has been, some of the HR leaders or some of the even the CEOs have been talking is, who really does manage people or who really engages with people? Is it the managers or is it HR? And to me, it is always the manager who manages people. So what we're going to look forward is, how do we empower, how do we coach, how do we mentor our managers to be better people managers, to be able to connect and engage with the people in a better way. So I think that to me is a way going forward. A lot of times people believe attrition is HR's baby. The engagement or connect is HR's baby. But to me, yes, HR is there to help facilitate all of the processes. But the thing is, how do the managers really engage and connect with people? How do we be able to mentor and coach is what we are really looking forward to. What I'm also planning to do is instead of waiting for the feedback to be given at the end of the quarter or at the end of the month or later on during the annual appraisal process, we are trying to have a continuous feedback process implemented. So rather than waiting for telling what went wrong for 3 months or your weekly meeting or whatever that cadence is, why can't we give feedback as and when it happens or as and when it happened? That's when the individual will get benefited, saying, I know what I did wrong, I'll try and improve, and the organization as well as the manager get benefited from it immediately. If I have not done wrong, I will let the manager know. So it becomes a much better performance management process rather than waiting for the whole time to give feedback, which is not useful to anyone because it is retrospective and it goes a lot of times into the altercations of why and the intent and all of that. So
great points, Vijay. I'll try and come back to you.
Sure.
I think you spoke wonderfully about continuous feedback and why does it have to happen annually or quarterly. I think this is this aspect is going to be accelerated even more as we use technology, as we work from home, and so on and so forth. So old paradigms are being broken, managers are being enabled and empowered, HR is facilitating their growth, the managers' growth, and coaching managers to be better people, managers themselves. Coming back to Rohan, how's manufacturing different? You also have a lot of blue-collar workers or factory workers, technicians and operators. How is it different from them? How are their jobs impacting? Are you changing some allowances, adding benefits? Are you changing some policies around that space? So a lot of interest from our audience. So we have about 113, 120 odd people listening to you now, Rohan. Rohan, you have to unmute yourself.
Rohan, you will have to unmute yourself.
I think Rohan's, yeah, Rohan.
Rohan, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think the manufacturing industry is a very different ballgame as compared to the IT and the ITS services. Now, as you rightly said, we have we have a large strength of people who are the contract laborers. We have workmen who are working on our payroll, and the contract laborers are typically paid minimum wages. Our workers are definitely people who are paid much better. Now, what is important in these times is to make sure that people, particularly at the lower levels of salaries, are impacted the least. Now, we as an organization, though our business was impacted, we have taken a decision that we will not cut the salaries for the month of March and April. We paid full salaries to people, irrespective of whether they came to work, they did not come to work, whether they were productive or they were unproductive. Because what happens is, in a plant environment, when you're engaging contract workers or even our employees, you can do very little when you don't have the permission to operate the plant. The work from home concept doesn't really apply to a manufacturing production unit. Well, I can definitely have my support functions working from home, but that doesn't work with the plant. So in the month of March and in the month of April, we paid full salaries to people, right? So there was no salary cut, there was no incentive cut that happened. What we also ensured is people who were in the support functions, they were either given desktops or our IT team helped them to work remotely, and people who had laptops were anyways able to work from home, like people like me or people in sales and marketing who generally have laptops. Now we have a large sales and marketing workforce. So what we did with the sales and marketing workforce, because none of our dealers and distributors are open because of the countrywide lockdown. So what we did with them is we utilized this time to train our sales and marketing folks on the technicalities of the product. It really helped. And we also spoke to some of the influencers. We also spoke to some of our key customers. We also spoke to applicators, dealers, painters, etc., making sure that we utilize this period of lockdown effectively. That's how we've been managing, and making sure that our people are productive and making sure that the people are engaged.
So I'll stay with you, and now we will go the reverse direction from, we'll start with you and then go to Vijay and Tejinder. So as you said, manufacturing is very, very different. How is it that you are looking at your own team of HR? What do you think would be the skills required for manufacturing HR folks? What will they need to do in the new world when there's probably more robotics, increased activation and activism happening in the labor force? There's political influence. There's a lot of competitiveness from neighboring countries, Vietnam, Indonesia, China. What does manufacturing HR need to do to ensure that they're at the top of the game? We always keep talking about IT, but I think we need to bring back the focus into manufacturing HR. And over to you.
And that's a very interesting question. I think the first and the foremost that HR needs to really do, if they, is to really understand the business that they're working for in manufacturing, and also understand the entire business process and the supply chain process, because that's where you need to align your people's strategy. Now, unfortunately, we have been talking about HR business partner for a very long time, but believe me, HR business partner is the most abused term in the HR fraternity, because a lot of people do not really understand the business process and the whole business value chain. And I've seen on a lot of occasions where there is a complete disconnect between the people strategy and the business strategy. What HR really needs to do is, one, it needs to understand the vision of the organization, the functional goals of the mission, and make sure that every individual in the organization really understands the vision and the mission. That's point number one. Point number two, you need to align your people's strategy with the mission and the mission of the organization. That's very, very important. Third, post-COVID, what is going to happen is a lot of the business plans are going to be realigned. Now, when you are trying to realign your business strategy, this calls for the people strategy also to be realigned. And this is going to be the fundamental and the foremost. I'll give an example of Zydex. We have 4 different business divisions. We are into textiles, we are into roads, we are into agriculture, and we are into waterproofing and paints. Now, waterproofing per se as a business was literally under close because of the lockdown. None of the dealers, distributors are operating. Now, this is going to call for a major realignment of the business strategy. Now, when you're realigning the business strategy, if you would not pay attention to the people strategy, you're going to go for a short failure. That's the third priority that HR needs to really look at. And fourth and the last is, I think, the people communication. I think we are going to now live in an era where we need to communicate with people all the time to ensure that they're productive, their morale is up, and they're highly engaged. Thank you.
Brilliant. Very, very succinctly put 4 points. And I loved your point that HR needs to know the entire value chain. Who are the consumers? Where do the input goods come from? How does the entire supply chain work? Not just look at that factory and the factory premises, but where's the input coming from? Where's the output going? What are consumers saying? I think HR needs to get integrated into the entire value chain, at least from an awareness point of view. Fantastic points, and you said communicate. So I will very quickly go back to Vijay. Vijay, 1 minute, and then back to Tejinder for a minute before we kind of open up for Q&A and do the closing notes. Vijay, are you still hiring? And you being an IT industry, are you now looking at employees who are not full-time employees? Are you looking at gigs, freelancers, interns? Are you looking more at contingency workers than normal paid workers? Not just to save cost, but also to deliver projects in a more agile manner?
So, Sanchan, right now we are hiring. We have almost close to 100 plus positions open, and we're going to continue to hire in mostly full-time employees. However, we've been trying from the last couple of months interesting experiment. The Arrow larger ecosystem has a system called as Arrow Plus, where it is a platform for the freelancers to come together, and then we can offer various projects to people. So in our kind of industry, which is very niche by nature, we need experts. So they may not be always available, and we may not need them for a very longer time. So we're trying to see if we can get those experts for a particular amount of time from this platform. However, it's going to be in very small numbers. We are going to now still focus on growing ourselves, both in India as well as in the various parts of the world, especially in US and Europe. That's going to be the focus to still expand.
Okay, okay. Great. That's interesting that you have a platform called Arrow Plus, from where on which platform you bring in the gig and contingency workers. Tejinder, very quickly, in a minute, if you could tell us, in the new world, when you hire your managers, your second in line, people in HR, different functions, what are the new skills are you looking at, and what is your client demanding right now? And the next few very senior hires, what sort of people are you going to hire, Tejinder?
See, I'll take a cue from what is used in the software development world as a full stack. They use it for a developer, but I would use that in general for all kinds of positions, that you will require people who operate in a full stack domain. Like if an HR guy needs to be a recruiter one day and a HR admin the other day, he should be able to manage both. Then, like, we're looking at people who can do end-to-end delivery. That is one very important piece in whichever function they operate in. Second, when we're looking at hiring, we're also looking at people, when you're looking at managers with ability to manage people remotely. See, when you're looking at somebody face to face, it's very easy to manage this kind of a person. But managing people remotely is a different ballgame altogether. A skill which is very important is being able to express himself in written skills, in writing skills, and on phone, wherein the right communication goes, and therefore you're able to manage the right delivery. So communication and writing skills is also gaining a lot of importance, even in roles in which it was okay to manage with somebody. I'm talking in very generic lines. So these are some new skills. Clients are becoming demanding. Clients are now looking at support. Security is definitely becoming an issue. So you need integrity, because you will give people a lot of independence, and system support may still take its own time to come up to a level wherein you are able to control all the systems, because the whole operation was built overnight. So you will require people with a lot of much higher level of integrity. So that is non-compromisable. So going back to basics is people who are self-driven and do not really need a danda to be driven all the time.
Right.
And people who are output driven, output focused. Let's say if this is the output required, so and do it right the first time is one of the best or the most sought after skill that will be needed.
Correct.
So these are some key general areas. Now, irrespective of whatever positions you work on, you could apply them to any of these positions. In addition to that, yes, fortunately, IT has been the baton carrier of business in COVID. So we expect that things will go positively from here for IT industry even further.
Sure, fantastic points. From my perspective, I think there are few very important things that one should look at when hiring not only people in HR or in other functions. I think how do they build culture? How do they build culture in a very large distributed workforce? People who are not in your city, not in the office. As they say, work is wherever there is a Wi-Fi. So how do you build culture? There's going to be a lot of anxiety around job losses, anxiety around home. So home anxieties now might spill over into work anxieties. A lot of women employees are going to get work because there's work from home. And yet in Indian homes, there's a lot of lateral pressure on women employees from the kids and other family members. So how do we support women employees who are there working from home? So mental health is a very important thing that not only HR but managers need to now focus on. So aspects of patience, holding on, those could be resolved through yoga, meditation, everything, but mental health is going to be very key. How do you ensure and help your employees do a home setup? How are they set up at their home? Broadband, machines, cameras. We need to reach out, as Tejinder said, and be close to them.
I'll give you two quick examples. I had a mail just a short while back.
Okay.
That somebody did not have a chair, office chair to work properly. And I made sure that he picks up a chair from office to carry on work. And I also see a lot of diversity increase because of work from home, because a lot of female staff members were not able to continue working despite very good abilities when they decided to go on their family ways. With work from home culture coming in so aggressively, I see diversity to be male-female diversity to definitely increase, and we'll see a much more higher increase of women professionals in our industry. We already have a higher ratio, almost about 35%, but we see that ratio to be increasing very effectively, and we'll not lose women professionals because they decide to relocate or they decide to stop working because they cannot come to office. So
right. We will now open up for Q&A, and so I'll have a first question coming in for Rohan, and it says that how will you manage where things are related to industrial products and primary products, where HR work has to be primarily from office. So how do you see this where there's no alternative way to work from home? You have to work from office to get things done. So what is it that you would change in your factory or in your manufacturing setup, Rohan? That's a question. That's a question from Mr. Quasi.
So I think, primarily when it comes to the manufacturing industry, I don't think that, if you have the technology enabled support, there is no need why you should not be able to work from home. Well, I have been working from home for past 50 days. And believe me, I have been equally productive, or probably at times even more productive than what I was otherwise from the office. The entire HR team till the last week was working from home. And yes, we had certain, it's important that you use, see, these days, we are blessed with technology. So whether it is Zoom, whether it is Google Meets, whether it is conference calls, whether it is WhatsApp video calling, I think it's important to communicate with each other and make sure that, you are able to deliver to what the manufacturing wants. Even if the manufacturing plant is running, if you are unable to go there, you can still help the manufacturing run the operations very effectively with the help of technology. I think the problem with manufacturing is we need to get out of this mindset that I need to be there all the time. And this is unfortunately there because the manufacturing industry, people working in HR in the manufacturing industry never really were required to work from home. So I think it's more to do with the mindset change of HR people, and productivity will happen.
Correct. I think, and I was speaking to some colleagues in the manufacturing sector, and to answer Mr. Quasi's question, for people who are staying back at the factory, I think a lot of companies are also organizing dormitory kind of sleeping beds, giving nutritious food in their canteens, doing some kind of entertainment opportunity with TVs, games, etc. So that people who are staying back in the factory are also well handled. Sorry, Rohan, I think you're raising your hand.
Yeah, no, in fact, what we have done is we have actually gone for a 12-hour shift. And because the government of Gujarat has permitted us legally to do that, we have gone for a 12-hour shift, and we are running 2 shift operations. We have all the permissions in place. What it is doing is, it is allowing lesser number of people to come in the factory. So with lesser movement, the chances of infection of COVID also reduce. And because people are working 4 hours extra, we are also proportionately paying them higher wages.
Wonderful.
In accordance with the law.
Wonderful. Wonderful. There's a question from Arun to Tejinder, and the question is, what are the chances now people are working from home and you don't know whom they are working for? Along with you, are they also working for somebody else? So the gig economy is getting accelerated because of the crisis. So will it lead to your employees or anybody else's employees working for other employers also? What is your view, and do you want to control it, or do you want to let it be?
See, there is an industry which already works like that, which is called freelancers. People with commitments will definitely require to work for single employers, because otherwise deliveries will get hampered. Of course, there are gig employees which may come in, which will work for multiple employers also. But in general, I think systems and technologies will be put in place, and some of them are already in process, wherein it will not be very easy for people to see. After giving 8 hours or 10 hours, what is left in a person to give to another person? So if performances are not up to the mark, it will not work.
Right. In fact, we have a small IT team, and my IT team also tells that a lot of people in the software industry work on open softwares.
Yes.
That they contribute because of the intellectual challenge that they get from contributing. So after office, they spend another 4 or 5 hours contributing on open systems, communities, and building open coding systems. So
commercial deliveries and interest services, hobbies and interest services are 2 different things. If somebody is interested in intellectually contributing to somebody else, no company normally stops him because he does a good job there. But in general, I think companies will still, large companies will still be not very comfortable for people working double shifts or working with 2 different companies.
Sure. I'll come back to Vijay with a question that had come in earlier, saying that what is an alternative to layoffs? Is it necessary to do layoffs, or as an HR, do you see there are other alternatives of managing cost without laying off people?
I think layoffs in certain situations are going to be there. It purely depends on the kind of business which is getting operated. Fortunately for us, there is no condition where any layoffs is going to come, rather we are hiring. But to me, utilization of the employees is going to be extremely critical. So if you are really unable to utilize in a particular skill, technology, or in a particular, even in the manufacturing side, can we reskill them? That's going to be a big question. Can we reskill people? Also, it also calls for a lot of collaboration between the industry. So to me, in the various forums like NASSCOM or JCR, all these can come together and form a common workforce where various companies can probably pick up people from there and work rather than laying off. We can have a cross workforce being utilized for at least some time. Of course, it will have its own complexities of the confidentiality and all, but then that way we can at least ensure that people don't get laid off that easily. So reskilling and utilization by a pool of various organizations can really help.
Vijay, for you, there's another question. The question is from Nitin Bhatia. Nitin wants to know what are the key expectations from HR that will change because of the pandemic. I think we've tried to answer in parts, but still, if you could share one or two words.
Sure. I think one of the major expectations from HR is going to be how do we ensure, one, the engagement and the connectedness with the employees. Second, how do we keep the morale of the employees up? Because we know that there is somebody who wants to come to the office, somebody is really not comfortable working from home. We all know not all houses are big enough in India to be able to give a private space for individuals to work. So sometimes it can be very frustrating for people. So how do we really create those supports, morale as well as physical supports for the employees? How do we make sure that the anxiety of the managers is reduced? I think that's also going to be an extremely important thing which I talked about earlier. I mean, how do we coach, guide, mentor the managers to be able to manage the remote people? Because more than HR, I mean, the numbers will be minuscule to be able to reach out to every individual on a very regular basis. But the managers can do that. They can talk to them on a regular basis and be really connected to the people. I think what I would call it as, how do we really build a virtual workplace? That's going to be the biggest challenge and a biggest opportunity as well for the HR.
Sure, and I'd like to add on that I think in these times, HR needs to come across as very calm, very, very confident, because there's a lot of anxiety, worry flowing in. How can you be more compassionate with people? How can we, you need to be also more creative around dealing with engagement, performance.
Sanjay, that's one of the things which we've been thinking, saying how do we make our policies more employee friendly? My experience has been our policies are generally based towards those 2, 3, 4% of people who would generally break the policy. So everything is revolved around,
right.
We prevent those 3 or 4% people from breaking those policies. So I think this is time for HR to go back to the drawing board and start designing policies for that 98% of the people who get impacted because of our policies, which are revolving around those 2 or 3% people. And then we'll have to figure out how do we deal with those 2-3% people, figure out who those people are, give them coaching, mentoring, and then if they still don't fall in place, then take an appropriate action rather than penalizing the 98% of the people.
I think HR is also going to go through a phase of consumerization, where it won't be large sample slices saying 1,000 people I will deal like this, less 2,000 people I'll deal like this. I think N will be equal to 1. You have to deal every person according to his or her needs,
absolutely,
skill sets, capabilities, and future.
So that's what I was talking about, freedom with responsibility. We'll have to start trusting people. As I said, the policies are built 2% people. It basically comes from the thought that, okay, there are people going to misuse it. It doesn't come from the thought that, okay, we'll build something and we'll tell people to make sure that they don't misuse it. My general experience has been, if we tell people saying, we're doing this, please don't misuse. If you misuse, then we'll be back to the square one. And it works. It wonderfully works. As long as we really communicate properly to the people, I've seen it wonderfully work. So that's going to be the way forward for HR. Trust people, not only say, but trust them really, and build your policies accordingly rather than just talking about it.
Wonderful. So as we come to a close, I will do a quick rapid fire in the style of most shows. So I'll ask each of you to predict the future of work using just 1 or 2 words. I will start with Tejinder. Tejinder, what are your 1 or 2 words to predict the future of work?
Work anywhere.
Work anywhere. Rohan?
Reinvent, innovate, be proactive, or be ready to die. RIP. Reinvent, innovate, proactive, or it's your organizations are going to rest in peace.
Wonderful. Reinvent, innovate, and what is the other one you said?
Be proactive.
Proactive. What are your 1 or 2 words?
I would say passionate, intrinsically motivated people who are not required to be told what is to be done. So basically, intrinsically motivated, passionate people.
Great. I would say that change is anyway going to come. So embrace change wholeheartedly.
Sanchayan.
Give a big hug to change.
Sanchayan.
Yes, Rohan.
Who gets the gift hamper? You didn't announce that.
I will leave that to HRAI and Peter. And someday if I get to travel, I'll come and meet each of you. Yeah. Over to the organizers and Peter. Brilliant discussions, huge learnings for myself. Tejinder, thank you. Rohan, thank you. And Vijay, thank you.
Our pleasure.
Wonderful.
Thank you. So thank you so much, Sanchayan, for facilitating it so well. Thank you, panel members like Mr. Tejinder Oberoi, Mr. Vijay Rane, and Mr. Rohan Lele. It has been a pleasure being with all of you today, and we had an insightful webinar. Thank you so much for taking us, taking up significant number of questions. Thanks for making this journey a memorable one for all of us. Before we conclude with today's session, we would also want to thank all the associations for supporting HRAI event. Geisha IT Association, it is the ICT window of Gujarat to the world and nurtures, fosters Gujarat. It is the only state level association for electronics, software, IT, ITES, BPO, KPO, LPO, telecom, ISP, networking, and IT education, which is recognized by the government of Gujarat. Next is Federation of Gujarat Industries. The Federation of Gujarat Industries was founded in the year 1918. It is one of the oldest active social conscious industrial associations in the country. The Federation of Gujarat Industries aimed at promoting, protecting, and projecting the interest of industries and also catering to the need of the community at large. NASSCOM COE Gandhinagar, it was announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in July 2015 as a part of Digital India initiative to jumpstart the IoT ecosystem, taking advantage of India's IT strength in the country. The Center of Excellence for IoT India at IIT Gandhinagar, Gujarat is a Digital India initiative to jumpstart the IoT ecosystems in India, taking advantage of India's IT strengths and helping the country attain a leadership role in the convergent area of hardware and software. Bharat Nirman. Bharat Nirman was set up in early 1980 and was registered as a charitable and public utility organization on 9th June 1980. The main objective with which the society was set up was to revive all ancient Indian science and propagate Indian way of life, culture, and development. LMA Lucknow is a premier affiliate of the All India Management Association, an apex management body of India for the affiliation of principles and practice of management. It is a vibrant body of multidisciplinary professionals with close to 2,000 individuals and institutional members. LMA organizes a variety of management programs and high impact interactions on vital public policy issues. Thank you once again, dear panel members and our participants, for joining us today, and see you soon on the next event on the 30th of May, which is organized by FGI and HRAI, a conversation on rebuilding business people trust. With this, we sign off for today. Thank you all for joining.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.